third floor, shoes, athletic wear, this podcast. Before I continue my first ever journey through the Harry Potter series, just a few quick announcements. First, a friendly reminder that on October 10th, Thursday, Multitude will be live in Boston, Massachusetts. We have an incredible variety show lined up. We had our first meeting deciding what is going to be all of the different parts of the show, and I'm so excited about it. There's going to be some parts that closely match the formats of our podcasts. There's going to be some parts that just have the Multitude hosts doing ridiculous things on stage. It's going to be so much fun, and I really hope all of you come through. If you're close by, it's going to be great. We'll be able to meet you after the show. It'll be a fantastic experience. We're trying to get some guests in the mix. It's going to be great, and you're not going to want to miss it. So if you want to get tickets because they are selling fast, head on over to multitude.productions/live. And as I've mentioned, I'll also be in Boston that weekend for LeakyCon. I don't know what the schedule is just yet, except for that Potterless Live is going to be happening on Friday. So hope to see you there at least, and I'll do a meetup in Boston. Just make sure you're following Potterless somewhere on social media so I can post updates about all of these fun things. And speaking of social media, we've made some changes to the Potterless Patreon Discord. I recognize that not everyone knows what Discord is and how it works, so me and the mods have changed things to where you can quote-unquote test drive the Discord before you decide whether or not it's worth you being a $2 or above patron. Basically, you can see some of the channels and see what those conversations look like, and then if you become a $2 and above patron, you can join the conversation. So if you want to test drive it, head on over to bit.ly/potterlessdiscord, all lowercase, and you can see what it's like. It's really fun. It's been a blast. There have been some incredible discussions, and I hope you enjoy. And speaking of things that I enjoy, we've new patrons to welcome to the team. So shout out to Rancid Eddie, Teresa Schmidt, Stepanka Silanova, Cassie, Delphine Kaiser, Gaurav, Claire Craig, Emily Lang, Katie Cuspis, Louise, Benedict D. Valdez Stephenson, Zima H.M., Erin Tanvi Sawney, Arnaud, Me Hendrickson, Elena Neal, Hazel Jean, Kieran Monker, Toby Keith Whitney, Cassidy Marsh, Katerina Schneidmiller, Tawny Jurin, and someone that made their name Howdy Pardner, but like a name. A name correction for Courtney Spilker, and shout out to our new producer level patrons, Anna Penalber Alvarez, Fake Valentine, Brianna Jordan, and Karu Teru. They joined the ranks of Vicky, Aaron, Jesse, Natalie Clow, Frank Marchismo, Samantha, Juan, Abid, Rosemary, Maria Lisa, Ramina, Kamel, Russell, Audra, Eleanor, Rossan, Nikita, Taylor, Ali, Amelia, Sean, Sarah, Ben, Rachel, Zachary, Orchid, Vivian, Takari, Haley, Moster, Angelina, Alex, Brian, Caitlin, Grace, Raul, Ingen, Mari, Alex, John, Noel, Tao, Emily, Robin, Will, Liz, Mariah, Brandon, Sarah, Claire, Rory, Gloria, Sarah, Patrick, Ali Cat, Veronica, Lada, Noah, Tracy, Colleen, Jennifer, Friday, Ivor, Naomi, Tyler, Summer, Heather, Vera, Carrie, Andrea, Ella, Anthony, David, Elisa, Lynn, Cameron, Justin, Christine, Jacob, Toothless, Maya, Mark, Polly, Srujanetta, Remy, Sarah, Nona, Zena, Harlan, Noelia, Addie, Brian, Jenny, Nikki, Cara, Dorcas, Courtney, Kine, Amanda, Sabrina, Alicia, Kafir, Lindy, Martha, Benjamin, Skymart, Sarah, Marta, Stephanie, Justine, Aaron, CJ, Eileen, Violet, Kat, Lindsay, Fielding, Keegan, Miranda, Gail, Mr. Folk, Heather, Adam, Christina, Maya, Zachary, Kieran, Heaven, Christy, Lily, Wire Warrior, Floor, Siri, Georgia, Itzel, Al, Topher, Peter, Candy, Skyla, Edel, Professor Threat, Kelsey, Ellie, Aluban, Maleo, Lena, Daniel, Lee, Elizabeth, Abby, Lika, Michael, Earmuffs, Cara, Tiffany, Kelly, Nadia, Andrea, Carrie, Jamie, Camillo, Connie, Janet, Mary, Imo, Anastasia, Jaden, Nedry, Matt, Riley, Will, Zephyr, Artemis, Brett, Samantha, Kayla, Lauren, Aurora, Emma, Hermione, Leor, Megan, Out of Context, Liam, Milena, Marcos, Ella, Hannah, Courtney, Victoria, Marique, Ashton, Phelan, Julie, the Meadows family, Brittany, Steamed Nuggets, can't I, Potter? And yes, I can, who never get to train stations just as the train is leaving and then have to look sadly as their train doors close and it moves away without them as they stand at the station. If you want to be like one of these amazing patrons and get access to bonus content like bonus episodes, director's commentary, exclusive merchandise, discounts on the merch store, you can head on over to patreon.com/Potterless. But without further ado, let's get into episode 94 of Potterless, covering the first part of the first movie, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer/Philosopher Stone, guest starring Julia Schifini and Paul Bae. Hello, Internet, and welcome back to another episode of Potterless, the tale of a grown man who took 3 years to read children's books and is now watching movies. My name is Mike Schubert, and I'm joined by two lovely guests, one of whom has read the Harry Potter series and seen the movies, and one who has only seen the movies. So let's start with the person who knows less about the series, Paul Bae. Paul, how's it going?
Good, and it's not plural movies, just movie.
Oh,
I just watched the one movie because of this. Just for this.
You are the purest of Harry Potter fan you can be for the purposes of this podcast. podcast. We originally connected at the first PodCon because you were the only other person in a hotel party of about 50 people that hadn't read Harry Potter before. And someone identified me as the other person that fit that bill. And then we got to talking, and it was fantastic.
That's how we became friends. I beelined over to you. I looked at your hair and I said, there's no way that hair sat in front of a Harry Potter novel or Harry Potter book section. That's my friend right now. I'm going to grab him a beer.
Yeah, one of your keystones, which slowly made their way through friends' parties in my fridge because there were like 28 leftovers since no one wanted them. Oh, sorry, Rolling Rock. I don't want to disparage your name.
Rock.
It was Rolling Rock.
That's right.
But also, for listeners at home, you may have heard a familiar voice. It's Multitude's own Julia Schifini.
That's me. Hi.
How's it going?
I'm doing all right.
In the booth. So we've got
booth.
Paul Skyped in, we've got Julie in the booth, and we're here to talk about Harry Potter and the Sorcerer / Philosopher's Stone, depending on where you live.
Yeah, I saw someone on the internet already get mad that you called it the Sorcerer's Stone.
Look, the whole podcast is my journey, and I live in America. I hate to break it to everyone listening. It's like, it's such an American perspective. Hi.
Hello.
But where I live, it's called the Sorcerer's Stone. I apologize. I'm also not going to call aluminium foil just because other people call it that. But yes, depending on where you live, it's Sorcerer / Philosopher. And you have what countries it's Sorcerers, right?
Yes, it was very weird. It's the United States, Pakistan, and India.
What a weird poll. India's the most surprising because I feel like they have a lot of British influence and vice versa. So
Yeah.
you would think that they'd be on the same page.
Yeah, you would think so, but no. I guess they wanted to be, because of all the conquest and whatnot and colonization, they probably want to be a little bit different.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, not just American influence. My buddy, Indian buddy, went back on a homeland trip, a trek through India, just rediscovering his roots, and he sent me a photo of a small village gathering where they're in front of one TV watching a Korean drama.
Whoa.
I love that.
Yeah, so it's American and Korean.
Was it a good one? Was it a good Korean drama?
I couldn't hear it over the photograph, so I'm not sure, but it looked like they were enwrapped by it.
I was
Good,
assuming
good.
that you knew which one it was on site, Paul.
So the main thing that I want to talk about in these episodes is just the difference between the films and the books. And that's the whole point of having someone who hasn't read the books, is we can have fun discussions based on what is different and what things they changed, what things they didn't, things that they removed, things that they added. It's not always that things that change are worse. Some things are better, but sometimes it can be a little frustrating. So I say we get right into the beginning of the movie and we'll just go through chronologically all the things that I noticed and talk a little bit about it.
Sure, let's do it.
Sounds good.
I'm going to talk about casting as things come up because
Please
the casting
do.
is really weird and really interesting.
Yes, what I've noticed from the casting of these films, just with my limited knowledge of seeing them and knowing who's in them, they really get all-star, star-studded casts, especially for the adult roles, even for tiny little cameo bit parts, which is very surprising.
Yes, there was actually when Christopher Columbus and J.K. Rowling were talking about what kind of casting they wanted to do. They wanted to make sure that all of the actors were either English or Scottish or Irish.
Authentic.
Yeah, authentic. Try
Pretty
to keep
sweet.
it real.
Oh, for me, it was weird, as someone who grew up in the 70s and 80s, seeing my favorite 80s character actors like Alan Rickman, John Hurt, Richard Harris. I'm like, they're all in this movie, and they're all old now.
Yeah.
Like it was fantastic.
I wonder if there could be an American equivalent, if there was some American book series that went super popular and then they turned it into a TV series and then it's just Tom Cruise and I'm just naming the actors from Top Gun at this point.
Okay, yeah. There you go. Perfect.
Sylvester Stallone.
So it's Top Gun. is what you're
Carl
describing.
Weathers.
What was that really? The Expendables? Was that the
Yes.
movie where it's all the old action
Yeah.
stars doing another action movie?
Pretty much. That's
All
what it
right.
was. I think it would be fun, though. I think what Paul is bringing up here is that it would be fun to have people that were in action movies and stuff be in a children's series.
Sure.
of
There you go. That's a good
films.
point.
Yeah, let's get the guy whose stomach exploded on Alien
Yeah.
into this children's
Yep.
movie.
I'm on board.
Love John Hurt.
Yeah.
So one of the first things that happens in the film is McGonagall does the cat transformation and they use the classic shadow to do it. And it happens in the first 15 seconds. And I just love it. Like right off the bat, the movie's just saying, here's magic. We're hitting you with it. Let's go. No ramp up. I love it.
It's a very different introduction from the books.
Yes.
Because the whole first chapter of the books is told from Vernon Dursley's perspective, which is a very weird way to start the Harry Potter novels when you think about it.
I like the transformation with the cat because it got real dark real fast after that. For me, 'cause I grew up with this illogical fear of abandonment by my parents.
Oh, no.
All right.
I don't know where that came from, but I always had that. I think it's because of this golf magazine that was sitting on my parents' toilet one time when I was like kindergarten. And I remember reading it saying, why do golfers divorce more than anyone else? And I was thinking, oh, fuck. I'm going to be abandoned on the street. They're going to divorce. And back then in the 70s, there was like a ton of like shows about abandoned kids and orphan dogs helping abandoned kids.
Oh, of course, obviously. The best genre.
Yeah, that was a regular thing. So I thought, well, I better get a fucking dog because I'm going to be on the street. But that thing caused me, like, I watched that. I'm like, Jesus, how did kids watch this movie and not get freaked out by the first 15 minutes of this kid living under the stairs?
Okay, so I think that, like, you know, talking through the Harry Potter movie would be great, but maybe we should talk through this, Paul, too. I don't know. I'm not a licensed therapist, but, like, maybe we can unpack that a little bit.
Yeah, for this offshoot podcast, Fatherless, where we talk about you.
I already spent $3,800 on it. I'm good now.
All right, cool.
I never have to clip my nails now.
That's great. Perfect. So yeah, Paul, in the books, it's different. The first chapter starts from Vernon Dursley, the grumpy stepdad of Harry.
Uncle.
Yeah, his uncle, pseudo-stepdad, father figure, whatever, grumpy large man. He is the beginning chapter of the first book. The whole perspective is that the wizards are celebrating the death of Voldemort, and he is just witnessing this all take place. And that's how the book starts.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that is weird. Does he talk about Harry then? His nephew? Does he talk about the like, how does he talk about Harry?
Yeah,
like
he talks about it like from the perspective of we don't talk to that side of the family anymore. But he hears the name Potter mentioned, so he talks to his wife and is like, "Have you heard about, you know, your sister and her dumb husband?" And she's like, "No, I haven't." And then they just leave it at that.
Does he explain why his nephew lives under the stairs? Because from the movie, it looks like the house would have another room.
Dudley does have another room solely for his toys.
Oh, gross.
Which they eventually move Harry into in the books, but not in the movie. Also, by that point, Vernon doesn't know that he's going to basically inherit Harry, because it's told the day before they drop Harry off at their doorstep.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. They cut out a lot of stuff for this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and Julia was even telling me before we recorded, the first line in the book is Vernon Dursley lived a very normal life. Thank you very much.
Vernon Dursley was perfectly normal. Thank you very much.
Which is a fun way to open the series. You got to give credit to JK. But yeah, they kind of cut out all of that and just get straight to the chase, which is one of the changes that I think makes sense. Mm-hmm. It's fun for the book, but I don't think you need it for the movie because you're going into it knowing what you're getting. So let's just get right to the magic. And then boom, McGonagall's a cat now.
Yeah, if you spent 5 minutes with Vernon Dursley and his like drill company, it probably wouldn't have been fun. I would have zoned out of that movie.
That sounds like a wonderful start to a book. People should read this book.
Oh, yeah. I agree.
So the next thing that it does is it shows the logo. It zooms in on Harry's lightning bolt with a very cheesy effect and then shows the Harry Potter logo. And what's different in this instance versus every other version of the film is that in the following 7 movies, it slowly zooms in through the Harry Potter logo and it's very iconic. And this first time, it just kind of flashes it, shows it, and then flashes to light again. And Harry is now almost 10 years old.
Yes.
Almost 11 years old. He is 10. He's turning 11 soon. One day I'll remember Harry's age.
Also, we get the brilliant score from John Williams in that opening scene, and it's beautiful.
What other movies has he done? He's one of those, I know he has titles. This is going to be a common theme with these movie episodes. It's like, I know this name. What's this person from?
Jaws, Star Wars.
Oh, okay.
All the things.
If
Steven Spielberg did it, John Williams probably did the score for it.
E.T.?
Yes.
Cool.
Raiders of the Lost Ark, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. This guy's really good.
Yeah, he does like all of the movies.
Okay, yeah.
All the movies you watched in your childhood, John Williams.
My brain was thinking it's either John Williams or Hans Zimmer that did every movie. And then if it was an 80s movie, it was Kenny Loggins?
Hans Zimmer is more recent, I feel like.
Okay, he did a bunch of the Disney stuff.
Right.
Cool. I'm going to tomorrow start a podcast called Williams List, and I'm going to have you come on as a guy who's never heard John Williams' music.
I've heard them. It's more of a man that has heard these and go, oh, that's John Williams too. It'll be a great podcast. Every episode will be 45 seconds. So one thing that I noticed that was interesting in the Dursleys' house is that they have a door between the kitchen and the foyer, which for me, as someone that cooks a lot, that's a great way to make everything in your kitchen smell like butt. You need air circulation. Why would you actively hinder that?
They have that beautiful garden area, and I think it's like an old, like the differentiation between where the help cooks and where you serve food.
Yeah.
So this is like an old British thing. Yeah,
fun.
Uncomfortable social status things.
Cool. Well,
when I about 4 years ago, my wife and I were shopping around for a house before we bought the house we're living in right now. Some houses we found in certain parts of the city, in the more multi-ethnic, vibrant parts, there was a kitchen, and then there was another door leading to a smaller kitchen. And I'm like, what the hell is this? And they're like, oh, that's the spice room.
Oh, yes, of
room.
course.
Yeah, where you would get a bit more pungent in there, where people would grind their spices from scratch and make it for like Indian foods, Chinese foods.
that
It was
sounds
pretty cool. And it
awesome.
was well ventilated. But I'm pretty sure that's not what was going on in Harry Potter.
I can't imagine the Dursleys having a spice room.
If they did, it would have salt and pepper.
Maybe.
Harry sleeps in the spice room.
Oh, there it is.
That's where Harry sleeps, in the spice room under the stairs.
So one other thing that is very minor but is different is that in the books, Dudley and Petunia are blonde. And in the movies, they have brownish hair.
Yeah, you just cast who you cast.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So then they go to the zoo for Dudley's birthday. And something that is different in the books than the film is that Harry still talks to the snake. But in the film, he just kind of talks, the snake nods, the glass goes away, it leaves, and it says thanks. But in the book, it's one step better because it is, first off, a different snake. In the movie, it's a Burmese python. And in the books, it's a boa constrictor. And it notes that it's from Brazil. So in the book, when Harry lets it go free, the snake slithers by and says, thanks, amigo, right? Or Brazil, here I come.
Brazil, here I come. Thanks, amigo.
Which is so much better than just thanks in the film.
But the problem is they changed the snake, so a Burmese python isn't going to be going to Brazil or speaking either Portuguese or Spanish.
Yeah. Why did they change the snake? Does that matter
I
at
don't
all?
know. Maybe that was just like, which snake can we get from the rental animal company? And then they did it based on that. Yeah.
And were there a bunch of writers credited with the screenplay? Because sometimes people come in to punch up a script and they'll add a joke
Ooh,
last minute.
excellent question.
That is not consistent with everything else.
I'm going to find out. Hold on, Paul.
But the thing is, they removed the joke. They removed thanks, amigo, which makes me incredibly disappointed.
Yes, but they did add Dudley getting stuck behind the glass of the exhibit,
That
which is very good.
true, and that's good. Yeah, in the book, the glass doesn't reappear in the book, and he doesn't get stuck behind it, which is a very fun addition in the film.
Just one writer credited.
Got it.
Who was it?
Steve Kloves.
So does JK not get credit? Does she get screenplay
She
credit
gets
or
like
something?
consulting credit, I think. But
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you know if she ended up getting writing credit later on? Like, did she have more say in the future films?
I think she's had the same adaptation rights the whole time. And by the way, Steve Kloves wrote all but one of the Harry Potter films. I'm going to figure out which one. Hold on.
Fun.
But she got some money for the movies, right? Because I heard she does quite well.
I think she just got a little bit of change.
Cool.
It was everything but Order of the Phoenix.
Oh, interesting. Huh. I'll have to see if that one feels different than the rest of them.
It does.
Oh, good. So then after this whole zoo thing, one of the next scenes is Harry getting all of the acceptance letters to Hogwarts, and they just start coming in a ridiculous fashion where it's just letter after letter. They get thrown in through the chimney, and there's owls, and they're popping up everywhere. But one thing that I noticed, Hogwarts doesn't give a damn about the environment. They're murdering trees all over the place.
I hope there's like magical recycling.
Ooh, I would hope. And it actually is 100% of things get reused.
Yeah,
That would be very nice.
They do like disappear a lot of things. So I
Okay.
imagine like maybe the letter gets sent and then when they throw it out, it just disappears and it returns back and then they send it again. I don't know. I hope so at least.
I like to live in this world where Captain Planet and the Planeteers also are Hogwarts students. And
sure.
then Captain Planet is a house ghost, basically, but environment.
But dressed that way.
Paul, there was a show called Captain Planet.
Yeah, I was just going to ask that. I have no clue what this is.
It was a 90s show about why recycling is good.
And why climate change is bad. And they all had powers.
There were 5 children, all of different racial backgrounds, and they all had rings, each of a different element: earth, wind, fire, water, and heart, of course. And when they put their powers together, they summoned Captain Planet, who had silver skin and a green mullet.
So this was a kid's show?
This was a kid's show. It was basically around just before Magic School Bus.
It was around that time.
Oh, so I missed it because that was the decade I was getting divorced.
Yes.
So yeah.
As we've established.
You're such a fun guest, Paul.
I feel like this is Paul Bae therapy time.
Yeah, the whole time watching this movie, I'm thinking, where's everyone's spouses? Is everyone divorced in this school?
Yes.
No wonder there's so much magic and anger and darkness.
There are no
I
married
get it.
teachers. None of the teachers that live at Hogwarts are married.
Except in my brain, Sprout and Hooch.
Yes,
Definitely
correct.
married. So one thing that they didn't put in the film, it is a deleted scene, but it didn't make the cut, is in the books, the letters start coming up in more ridiculous places just than the windows and the chimneys. They start coming out of things like eggs. When you crack eggs, a letter comes out, and they did make a deleted scene, which is nice, but I really wish it was in the actual film itself because that's such a fun visual. So then afterwards, they go on to the scene where they are escaping from all of these ridiculous amount of letters. They go in the boat, they're in the water, they end up going to this other house.
The house on the rock, I think is what they call it. Or the shack on the rock. I can't remember which.
The shack on the rock. One thing I did notice is that Harry has a watch, and it's not just a watch. It's an Adidas sport watch with an alarm set for midnight, so he knows when his birthday is, which definitely not in the book, but I love that detail. Yep. Anything that grounds you in the time period of when these took place makes me so incredibly happy.
It's very good.
And then he goes on to do something that also isn't in the books, where he draws a birthday cake in the dirt and then blows out his pretend dirt birthday candles, which is absolutely soul crushing in how sad it is.
It's very sad.
Yeah, that was traumatic.
Paul, do you want to talk about watches for a second? Because I feel like...
Yeah, resident watch expert Paul Bae, how much would this Adidas sport watch go for?
That would go for maybe $30 or something. I wasn't jazzed about that choice of watch, to be honest. You know, Mike, you've gone watch shopping with me. If it's a movie about magicians, I want to see something purely magical with an old school movement, like from the 1960s or something like that. I don't need some Adidas watch.
Like a diver's watch from Rolex.
Yeah, if they're going to go on a lighthouse, they should probably have a diver's watch, or at least a GMT, so they could take care of the time zones, because it looks like it wasn't really close to their house. You know, that kind of thing.
Or they could get a Seiko with spring action?
Spring drive, Mike. Spring
drive, fuck. Paul and I were walking around in New York, and to beat the heat, we went into a mall.
What a beautiful mall.
It was so bad. It was the Hudson Yards one. We did the High Line, which is great, and then it ends in Hudson Yards, which is the worst. We made fun of the Pine Cone and then went into this watch shop in the mall. Smart. And Paul actually knows things about watches, so he was asking about ones that they had. And then, this is the most disappointed I've ever been in you, Paul Bae, is they offered you a drink because they got to the point where they realized you were seriously consider buying a watch, which apparently unlocks getting beverages.
Yes.
And they had a fully stocked bar, but you didn't realize it. And you said, yeah, I'll have a water. And then I was just your friend, so I couldn't say, yeah, I'll have a whiskey.
Always go for that free whiskey.
Yeah, I didn't notice the bar until I saw Mike's eyes sort of widen behind me, and I looked behind him like, there's a whole freaking bar behind me, and I ordered water. Like, they had bartenders just standing there ready to make a drink for customers.
Yeah, an old fashioned goes great with a good old Submariner from Rolex.
Well
That's
done.
a watch, right?
That is a watch.
I approve of that joke. I approve of that one very highly.
But now what I want to do going forward, this pro tip, I want to dress very nicely, use the 5 sentences that I retained from Paul, and everyone listening, take down notes of all the things that we said that Paul confirmed, go into a watch store, say them, act like you know what you're talking about, and then boom, you can get a free drink.
Free drink?
Yeah, if they offer you water, look around for the bar. That's what I've learned now.
Make eye contact with the bartender.
What gets me so angry is that if this was a Sims game, I would not have made it to the next level or whatever, right? Like, you know, we walk into, me and my friend Mike are going to the watch store. Would you like something to drink? Oh yeah, I would like a water. Bang.
Wasted. So, my goodness. So then Hagrid comes into the mix, which is so much fun. I love the casting of Hagrid. That guy is incredible.
He was one of the few actors that J.K. Rowling was like pitching for, other than Maggie Smith.
Oh, wow. She knocked it out of the park. They are 2 of the best actors in the entire franchise.
I will say the original casting director was not super thrilled by J.K. Rowling's decision, they can only be Irish or English, and really wanted, and also this person was very interested in the role, wanted Robin Williams to be Hagrid.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't think it would have worked very well.
I don't either.
But I love the idea of it.
Yeah. Because there are movies where Robin Williams isn't just Robin Williams. There's movies where he is more serious, Good Will Hunting, stuff like that, where he's not just, but...
That was a great impression.
I would, love to see him just be in the Hagrid role, but I also would love to see Hagrid just in Robin Williams mode, where it's basically Genie from Aladdin. Could be very fun.
Yes, that would be fascinating.
Because there'd just be so much useless magic.
And we've already had movies where Robin Williams is like dressed as Hagrid, right? Like we've seen that already in his movies.
Oh, in Jumanji, where he's got a big beard?
That's a good point.
Yeah, there's that one, and there's one where he thinks he's a time traveler. I can't remember. It was back in the 80s, and he's all disheveled beard. He looks just like Hagrid, except he's not 9 feet tall.
I gotta look up the time traveler Robin Williams movie now. Hold on.
Yeah, that's not ringing any bells for me.
That sounds fascinating.
He thinks he's a time traveler or something like that. He's stuck in the past. I think it has to do with trauma.
Oh.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Sounds on brand for what Paul's bringing to the podcast today.
It's all about trauma.
What a fun, happy podcast we have here.
Oh, the Fisher King.
The Fisher King.
The Fisher
What
King.
year was that, Paul?
Oh, geez, I think it's 1991.
All right. Oh, found it. All right, cool. Yeah, he does look sad in this trailer.
Oh, sorry, he's a homeless man. Yeah.
There it is. Look at that.
Oh, no.
Doesn't that look sad?
He looks very sad.
Yeah.
It's a comedy drama, though, for some reason.
Well, that's good. I mean, hey, at least he's the Fisher King and not the Fisher Prince.
Sure.
So, anyway, Hagrid. So Hagrid has a line that I don't know if this is in the books, but it stood out to me watching the film. Is after Vernon says something ill of Albus Dumbledore, Hagrid says, "quote Never insult Albus Dumbledore in front of me."
That is in the book.
Okay, just the distinction of in front of me makes my cynical brain think, oh, so talking smack about him behind his back is okay.
Only if it doesn't get back to Hagrid.
So afterwards, Hagrid takes Harry out of there, says the Euro Wizard, which I found a little... I feel like the delivery wasn't as boisterous as it had hyped up to be, because it's very matter of fact where he's like, "You're a wizard, Harry."
Yeah.
And I thought it was more of like, "You're a wizard."
All right, fair enough. I think it's like...
It's a little understated.
You don't want to scare an already scared small child more, be like, "You're a wizard!"
That's very true. You have to like sit him down. "Okay, Harry, I'm going to tell you something very surprising. You're a wizard." "I'm a what?"
Yep,
So-
thank you. Thank you for that. It's the most memed part of any of the movies.
There's
is
a
that.
great just spoof of that, the YouTube video where it's just two very Irish or Scottish people. I forget their accent, where they're just Euro Wizard back and forth for 6 minutes and it becomes really heated and
I think
angry
it's
halfway
Scottish.
through. Yeah. About halfway through, it's like, "You're a fucking wizard, Harry."
Yeah,
you
I've seen that
piece
one.
of shit. And it's very good. So then Hagrid and Harry leave and they make their way into the magical part of things. And one of the first things they do is they go to the Leaky Cauldron, which is run by Tom the Innkeeper, aka the
Your favorite
Toothless
person.
Walnut, one of my favorite descriptions of a person. Paul, in the books, they describe that barkeep as a toothless walnut, or if you have the UK edition of the books, a gummy walnut, to signify that he does not have teeth.
Gummy is somehow so much worse.
Yeah, it's more gross.
Yeah, and is that John Hurt's character?
No. This is some dude that they recast for the later movie.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
So I met the person, Jim Tavare, who they recast. He ended up being in the fourth movie or the third movie?
Third.
Third.
It's when he's talking to Fudge.
Right. So they recast as the third movie. And what's interesting is that in the first one, as a barkeep, he's very much as a barkeep. He's got the classic button-down shirt and that garter thing on the sleeves. He looks more on par with what I was anticipating. And then in the third one, they recast and they basically said, "What if you were just Igor from Young Frankenstein?" And that's it. And it's a different take on it. And I met Jim. He's an incredibly nice person. But I was very surprised at how different from the first movie to the third it was, because it wasn't just a recast, it was a rebranding of the entire character.
They were like, what if we made it funnier? What if just this person was funny?
And a little creepy.
Yeah.
I have a clip of, I got to interview Jim Tavare, and he was Prince Charles, one of the prince's favorite stand-up comedian.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm not surprised by that. He seems like a funny dude.
He was incredibly funny, as you'll see on that movie episode of Potterless, where I splice in that interview.
There it is.
So then they actually get into Diagon Alley, and there's a movie trope that I absolutely love that takes place, which is when side characters in a film say something as the camera gets to them, which doesn't make any sense. So there's a part where there's a bunch of children standing around a store that is selling a Nimbus 2000, one of the top of the line brooms that you can use for flying in Quidditch.
Hint, we see it later.
And just as the camera pans with Hagrid and Harry walking behind them and gets on the kids' faces, then one of the children, and they're all standing there, and I assume they've been there for a couple seconds, goes, "Look at that! The new Nimbus 2000!" Which I just, it's so good that they would just be standing there looking at a thing that has Nimbus 2000 written on it for a couple seconds, and then someone goes, "Oh!"
It would be one thing if you see them run up and then they say the line,
Right.
but they've been there for like at least a minute.
They've been there for too long for someone to say that.
Although in their defense, I've had many situations where I've walked into a situation like that where people are already standing around and they say the thing when I get there.
Are you the protagonist in a film, Paul?
I am the protagonist. So
Alright.
in that scene's defense, like I remember this one time, I always bring this up, that I was at a McDonald's and there's this guy already standing there and I made my order and I had to stand to the left next to this dude who I didn't know while we waited for our fries. And then the fries came out of the oil and they started shaking it and the guy sort of elbowed me like a little nudge. And I look over at him and he goes, fresh.
Oh boy.
That happens to me all the time.
You're just
Like,
very
yeah,
approachable.
I think I look like someone you could say obvious things to, and I won't get offended. Like I'll be like, "Thank you for that information." So I think Harry has that face.
There you go.
In that scene's defense.
You know what, Paul? You're right. Hey everyone, it's me, Editing Mike. It's been so long, I've missed you so dearly. Movie tropes are fun and cliche moments are great, especially if it's something you were expecting anyway. And everyone here is expecting me to do what I'm about to do, which is Wingardium Leviosa. Today's episode of Potterless is brought to you by SKILLSHARE. Let's say hypothetically that you just found out you're a wizard and you're going to school and you're completely incompetent. You didn't even know wizards existed up until this point, and you want to try to quickly catch up to speed so that your potions professor doesn't make fun of you in the first day of school. Well, how are you going to get caught up to speed very quickly on your own time? You're going to do that with SKILLSHARE. SKILLSHARE is an online learning community for creators, and they have over 25,000 classes to fuel your creativity, your curiosity, and your career. They have classes in design, business, photography, social media, anything that you're looking for, and they can help you improve something that you're already working on or develop a new skill. I've used it to get better with something as simple as time management because I'm really bad at that, and I'm really good at procrastinating, and I wish those two things were flipped. And SKILLSHARE is helping me make the most of my time, and I very much appreciate them for doing so. So whether you're trying to develop a new passion or start a new side hustle or develop new professional skills to round out your portfolio or resume, SKILLSHARE is there to help you learn, thrive, and reach new goals. And as a Potterless listener, you can get 2 months of SKILLSHARE Premium for free if you go to skillshare.com/Potterless. Again, that's skillshare.com/Potterless. You'll get 2 months of SKILLSHARE Premium for free. Try some classes, see what's out there. There's over 25,000, so there's going to be something that you like. And go on over, check that out, skillshare.com/Potterless. Get those 2 free months and start learning how to be a wizard before everyone schools you today. Today's episode of Potterless is also brought to you by HelloFresh. Let's say hypothetically that you're about to take a train to your new school and the family that you're living with hates you and they're not going to make food for you. So how are you going to get your own food made that tastes good so you can bring it for your very long train ride? You're going to cook up some fresh food with HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you can say goodbye to endless grocery store trips and takeout food because they have got you covered. They have 17 seasonal chef-curated recipes each week, which can break you out of any sort of rut that you're in, whether it's a grocery rut or a delivery rut. And HelloFresh makes cooking delicious meals at home a reality, regardless of your comfort in the kitchen. And a great thing about HelloFresh is that they're flexible. You can change delivery days, food preferences, skip a week, whatever you need to do to make sure things work for you, HelloFresh has got your back. In my most recent HelloFresh box, one of the meals was Tuscan pasta with sausage and peppers, and I've cooked a lot of Italian food, and when I saw this, I thought, okay, yeah, they're gonna teach me how to make some Italian food. Yo, this pasta dish slaps. It's so good. The seasoning was incredible. The dish was great, and it was hearty, and it was tasty, and it was different from any other Italian dish I'd made before, so I really appreciate them fleshing out my already solid Italian food repertoire. And as a Potterless listener, you can get $80 off your first month of HelloFresh if you go to HelloFresh.com/Potterless80 and enter promo code Potterless80. Again, that's HelloFresh.com/Potterless80. Enter code Potterless80 at checkout, and you'll get $80 off your first month. It's basically like getting 8 free meals, and free food is the best food, so I don't know why you're waiting. Go to HelloFresh.com/Potterless80, enter code Potterless80, and start getting a discount on fresh food delivered to your door so that you can cook it before you go to platform 9 3/4 today. Finally, today's episode of Potterless is brought to you by Wix. Let's say hypothetically that you just found out that you're going to a wizarding school and you want to blog about your feelings online because this is a whole new world for you. You didn't even know wizards existed, and you want to journal about your feelings and these new experiences and these changes in your life. You want to make it with your own website. How are you going to do that? You're going to use Wix. Wix makes creating your own website incredibly simple and honestly fun. They have over 400 templates for you to choose from, and you can tweak those little templates here and there, from the colors to the layout to features like adding videos or photos or making things look fun when it scrolls. There's all sorts of great stuff there, no matter what you're going for with your website. I use Wix for Potterless's site, my personal site, and for Horse's website, and it is so simple to use. Kelly set everything up, and I manage all of the websites now, and I don't know what I'm doing at all, but I'm able to make everything work, and Wix has a bunch of help online articles that are really thorough and show you exactly what you need to do, and I've never had a problem, so I absolutely love using them. And what's really great about Wix is that when you make a website, website, you can have a free account with Wix, and you can take as much time as you need to. There's no 30-day trial or 2-week trial. Take as much time as you need, make sure everything looks perfect, and then when you're ready to make that upgrade and get things like a custom domain name or emails associated with your website, you can get Wix Premium. And as a Potterless listener, you can get a discount on Wix Premium if you go to potterlesspodcast.com/Wix and click the link. You'll get 10% off Wix Premium. So go to potterlesspodcast.com/Wix, make your account, take as much time as you need to make things look perfectly for whatever your website is, and then get that Wix Premium upgrade, save 10%, and your journal about your new life as a Hogwarts student will be fantastic and gorgeous and easy on your end at potterlesspodcast.com/Wix, and you'll make everything awesome starting today. Oh my goodness. So while they're in Diagon Alley, they make their way to Ollivander, the guy who sells wands to children and is a little creepy about it. Yes. Another edition of Mike has heard this name but doesn't know who this person is. What else did this guy do?
Paul, do you want to do this one?
John Hurt's the one in I first saw him in the first Alien movie, when it was just Alien.
Okay.
And he's the guy on the slab where the alien goes into him, and the famous scene where the alien eats its way out of his stomach.
Cool.
Yeah.
And that's when John Hurt, who was already a fine stage actor in England, sort of blew up like to the rest of the world. Like, oh, that's him now. And I think he was sort of typecast as that guy because he did it so well because he's such a great actor.
He was specifically cast in movies where his stomach explodes.
Yeah, I remember SNL sketches where they would have guys with like exploding stomach. Like that was a big 80s meme. As memes go back in the 80s, that was it.
Okay, all right.
He was also in V for Vendetta, Hellboy. Mm-hmm. Most recently, he was in Doctor Who as the War Doctor. And I think his last film that he ever filmed was the Snowpiercer movie. With the train that goes around the frozen wasteland that is the Earth now.
Okay, cool,
sure.
cool.
Right.
Literally everything you mentioned I have not seen, so I'll get into it. These are all things that I know I should see, though.
He's one of those actors that sort of ages into his face.
Yes.
Like his actor face. Mm-hmm. Like he got so many movie roles as he aged. Like it just got better.
Yes, he got more roles as he got older, which is typically the opposite of what happens to actors.
Yeah.
I feel like that's happening to Jeff Goldblum now, where he was hot and young, and now he's hot daddy.
Yeah, he's hot daddy.
And he's just getting recast as hot daddy and everything. And he's just so pleasant. He's so wonderful.
Yes.
I would... Oh, he's got the new Disney Plus show. I'm going to watch that. Mm-hmm. I might get Disney Plus solely for that show.
Yep.
So anyway, Ollivander, one thing that I didn't realize is if you go to Universal Studios, the theme park, you can do the Ollivander experience. It's very cute. They usually bring up a small child or Julia or Jake and my fiance Kelly. They bring up the cutest, happiest person that happens to be in the room and then do the whole thing. And they do it word for word, beat for beat for the movie scene, which I did not realize until I rewatched this film.
And I really like that idea that Ollivander does the same speech to everyone who walks in. He's like, let me scare some 11-year-olds this year. It's the only chance I get to do it.
That's my favorite time of the year.
Scaring 11-year-olds.
Yeah. The only difference is that in the theme park thing, flowers wilt, and in the movie, a vase explodes.
Shatters.
Which I understand why they didn't do that in the theme park.
Hard to fix that.
But the casting of him is also perfect because he's just the right level of creepy. Because Ollivander's a little creepy, and I think they did a very good job hitting the nail on the head with this guy.
I think intense is a good way to describe him.
Yes. Very intense about something that doesn't necessarily need to be, which I think is good.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on, one second here. I just gotta let my dog out.
Okay, cool.
5 seconds.
Wait, so who let the dogs out?
Who?
My favorite thing about Who Let the Dogs Out is that it's actually about jerk douche dudes showing up to a bar.
Yeah.
That's actually...
And being like, all these ladies not hot.
Yeah. Hey, Editing Mike here. Just further clarification, because it's very important to me that everyone knows the full meaning behind the lyrics of Who Let the Dogs Out. The first verse goes, quote, well, the party was nice, the party was pumpin', A-I, yippee-I-O, and everybody having a ball, yippee-I-O, and tell the fellas stop the name callin', yippee-I-O, them girls respond to the call, I hear a woman shout out, and then Who Let the Dogs Out, hoo. So the song is about everyone having a great time at the bar, and then these jerks show up to the bar and start name calling the women, and the women actually yell towards these awful men, Who Let the Dogs Out. And then there's some further conflict afterwards, but it's actually an incredible anthem written by the Baha Men, and everyone just assumes that the song is about a negligent person in charge of dogs in a kennel or something. I'm not sure, but I really want to make sure that everyone knows that this is an incredibly progressive song written by the Baha Men. Shout out to the Baha Men. Anyway, back to the podcast.
All right, I'm back.
So Paul, you let the dogs out, you You.
I did let the dogs out. They were stinking up the studio. They were just farting nonstop.
Oh, Pops.
I'm gonna pass out here. I've only had 2 coffees. I'm not at that strength yet to withstand this and talk on Potterless.
Oh my goodness.
You need a fart-free Paul on this one.
There we go.
Which was, by the way, my breakdance name.
Fart-free Paul.
I love
Hey,
it.
I mean, if you're breaking, you can't be breaking wind too.
There you go.
There we go.
So a little bit later, Harry asks Hagrid what happened to his parents, and Hagrid explains the whole Voldemort situation, and there's a flashback. And this flashback is interesting. It's not very well done. They improve upon it in later iterations in the film
The
series.
low-budget version.
Yeah, it just looks weird. It's really gimmicky the way you see it from Voldemort's perspective, and the way he opens the door is really gimmicky. And then Lily is just standing straight up when it shows him murdering her. She's not draped over Harry or being dramatic or yelling. She's just standing and then gets murdered. And then Harry, as a child, is definitely 2 years old. I know he's not exactly a newborn in this scene when it happens, but I have a niece that's 2.5, and this baby looked about that age, which is
the canonical age we know that Harry's parents were killed during. But when they showed him in the first scene in this movie, he is an infant.
That's the thing, is that in the flashback, he's older than he was when he gets dropped off at the doorstep.
It's weird.
And it's very strange.
They didn't think about that too much.
They clearly didn't, but they improve on this flashback later on, but it just looks really gimmicky, and it didn't make me sad. Like, I didn't really have an emotional connection to it.
You're like, oh, that's what happened. All right.
Oh, cool.
Moving on.
Sweet. Fun. So eventually, Harry makes his way to school.
Hagrid just drops him off at a train station.
Right. Yes. Gosh. And that's the thing that they changed. So, Paul, in the books, after Hagrid and Harry go on this big shopping spree
for his birthday,
Hagrid brings Harry back to the Dursley family, and then Harry lives with them for about a month or so. And then they bring Harry to King's Cross so that he can get on the train. But in the movie, Hagrid just keeps Harry the whole time.
Just drops him off.
And then just drops him off and is like, oh, I gotta leave. Dumbledore makes me do a thing. And then he's got to get out of there.
Like, what about Harry's other possessions that are probably still with the Dursleys? Nope. I know he doesn't have a lot of possessions, but it's still something.
Look, he's going to have his Tamagotchi. He's got to make sure that it doesn't poop.
Oh, you think they got him a Tamagotchi? Maybe he got, like, the one that Dudley killed or something, and he got bored of it.
It seemed weird that Hagrid is in charge of, like, getting Harry safely to the school and takes him to this place where it's most crowded. We're not even a magical kid. Like, a regular kid would probably get lost.
It's leaving an 11-year-old at a train station.
Yeah, that was really weird to me. I'm like, well, he's going to be swooped up by an evil person right here. And but he made it on through that wall thing somehow.
Paul just created a really good AU where instead of the Weasleys finding Harry, it's the Malfoys.
The Malfoys,
Yes.
the evil family, in
Evil.
case you forgot,
the blonde
Paul.
one.
The blonde ones.
Later. Draco Malfoy.
Yes. But yeah, so that was clearly just a plot thing, but it's very ill-fitted for making sense of it, because in the books, the reason that Harry doesn't know how to get to platform 9 3/4 is because the Dursleys don't care about him, so they just leave him.
Yep.
Hagrid should care about Harry, and doesn't even, while he has to leave, doesn't say, there's a platform, you have to run through a brick wall, trust me, it's fine. He just doesn't say anything.
Listen.
I guess you could justify that maybe it's so normal to Hagrid that he forgot, but yeah, this was jarring. When I watched this in the film, I was like, that's not what happened, right? And I pulled out the book and made sure that wasn't Hagrid just being incredibly irresponsible.
I love Hagrid. He is not the most responsible person.
No, he should not have said that. He should not have done that, is his resounding cry. So anyway, when Harry finally gets to the school, a lot of what happens is him taking in magic for the first time and realizing things and learning new stuff. And there are so many cuts of a zoom in or just a pan of just Daniel Radcliffe's zoomed in face reacting, whether it's surprise or happiness or giddiness. And I just loved to imagine a director with a camera right in Daniel Radcliffe's 11-year-old grill just saying, okay, now act pleasantly surprised, act in wonderment, and then they just have a super cut of all of those reactions.
Oh, hey, can I talk about the casting of the trio real quick?
Yes, please do.
Because we're at that point. So the original casting director actually quit when Christopher Columbus selected Daniel Radcliffe for the role, because they had basically done like an open audition. They're like, it's a child. Who cares? We're going to like have thousands of people audition because children typically aren't actors and we'll make them actors. Sure. It's fine. But Christopher Columbus had seen Daniel Radcliffe in a BBC production of David Copperfield.
Okay. Wow.
And he was like, I like you. Come audition. I think you'd be great. And so he did, and he got cast. When it came to Emma Watson as Hermione, she had already been acting for a while. She actually trained at Oxford, which is like
fancy.
Damn fancy. And she never thought she was going to get the role. She just kind of auditioned because her professor said, hey, you should do this.
Cool.
And they ended up casting her because she was like much more confident than everyone else.
Nice.
And she's like, I'm just going to do this because it's fun. And then Rupert Grint sent in a rap about how he should be Ron Weasley because he was already a big fan of the books. And he's like, I got red hair too.
Oh, is there a clip of this rap somewhere online?
There's a clip of him talking about it.
Okay.
But I don't think there's a clip of the original rap. I will try to find it for you and you can insert it here.
I can only imagine that there would be things along the lines of like, when it comes to this casting, the decision is easy. I should be the one to play Ron Weasley.
Thank you. That's perfect. It's very good.
You're stuck with the decision. The obvious choices right there. Make me the boy with the orange hair.
Ginger hair would be. But very good. Yeah. So that's our trio.
Wait, can Mike keep going? I'm going to grab another coffee. Can you do two more verses?
2 more verses, Mike.
You've cast some of the actors, but let's get another. I should be the one to play Fred's brother.
Good.
Ooh. You got one more in you.
I believe in you.
I know it'll be great. I'm going to have some fun if you give me the chance to be Molly's son.
Oh, very good.
Beautiful.
Proud
Well done. Bravo.
I'll see if this is online and see if it was better. But
Yeah,
that's
not.
impressive. That makes me really happy. Good for Rupert. My respect for Rupert just quadrupled.
What a good dude.
So one of the things before they actually get to the school, they're on the Hogwarts Express and Harry is sitting with Ron and then Hermione comes in. And just a funny little note is that at one point after Hermione fixes Harry's glasses, which does not happen in the books, Harry takes off his glasses and then Hermione recognizes him as Harry Potter, which I thought was so funny because it's a recurring trope in the books that people only recognize Harry when he has his glasses on. It's like a reverse Clark Kent situation.
I like the idea of Harry's glasses being so big that they block out the lightning scar.
That could be it.
They're secretly transition lenses.
Oh,
so
my
they're
goodness.
always sunglasses
Oh my
and you
God.
can't see it.
If this movie took place a couple years later to where some of the kids had transition lenses.
Like a decade later.
Oh, that'd be so incredible. Jeez. I'm waiting still for the future that happens in those transition lenses commercials where A, everything is white and flying, and B, transition lenses actually work.
Jake has transition lenses from Warby Parker and they work great.
They actually go quickly?
Yeah.
Because I remember there was a buddy of mine, Michael Conway, smartest kid in my K through 8 school. He had transition lenses and I remember we would be outdoor recess and it would take a good 20 minutes for those to not be sunglasses anymore.
Yeah. It's like maybe 2, I'd say.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
that's not
solid.
bad.
It was just funny because he was the nerdiest kid in school and he would be kicking it in class with sunglasses on and it was a look. It was quite
It's
the
very
look.
funny.
So at Hogwarts, they mess up the whole Draco Harry thing. Or they change it. I don't know whether you want to say they mess it up.
I have opinions.
They make it different, which I think they make it worse. In the books, there's multiple instances of Draco being a jerk and being rude and being vaguely racist towards Muggleborns, and that informs Harry's opinion to not like Draco. In the movie, Draco comes up to Harry, makes fun of Ron, and then offers his friendship, offers a handshake, and Harry turns it down, saying, I can make my decisions of who is good and who isn't on my own. And then Draco is mad at him because he gets spurned. And I just found that to be less fun and less interesting. I liked Harry coming at this decision naturally and Draco just being a jerk rather than Draco having a quote unquote excuse to not like Harry.
Yeah. I'm very excited for you to watch a Harry Potter musical because they make fun of that a lot.
Good.
And it's very, very good.
I'm very excited.
It's a classic line.
Well, it sounds like the movie sets up a lot of why Draco.
Draco.
I've been calling him Draco. Maybe because I grew up on Rocky movies.
It is not Ivan Drago, the boxer.
It's not. It's Ivan Draco. Okay, so Draco's like. I remember when he just gets into the school and the teacher just looks at him like with this look like you're an asshole. Like I know you're an asshole.
It's because his family.
As a former teacher, like I'm like, well, you're just setting him up for failure now, right? Like you got Harry rejecting his friendship. You got the teachers looking at him like, put him in the asshole class where we know all the assholes go.
Yeah.
And so, of course, he's going to turn into this awful, awful kid.
Yeah, I mean...
He's pretty much a shit before he got to Hogwarts, though, so I don't know. I think he just made it worse.
There's no proof of that in the movie.
That's fair.
I'm going to challenge that right now.
He's a spoiled rich kid who's already racist.
What, was there instances of his racism before then?
In the book, there is.
Oh, okay. So as someone who hasn't seen it, I just kept thinking, poor blonde rich kid. That's all I kept thinking.
But this is something we've talked about before, Paul. Didn't you once bring up you once brought up, like, why does Slytherin exist? Like, what's the point?
Yeah, because it's like sounds like hey, we're going to have these schools here. We'll have the purple school, we'll have the red house, and we'll have, hey, let's get that shit house over here. Okay, all the kids into the shit house. You, the one that looks like you're going to grow into a Nazi. You go into that one. Like, it's like, what the fuck?
I mean, it ain't wrong.
You just teach them not as much magic, or you make sure you don't teach them dark magic.
Yeah. Well, they're not teaching anyone dark magic at the school, really.
I mean, they unintentionally are.
Yeah, I know. Anyway,
Harry Potter. Harry Potter indeed, past Mike, past Julia, and past Paul. Hey, it's me, Editing Mike, here again. This discussion went on far too long for just one episode of Potterless, but that means next week we'll wrap it up and it will be so much fun. There is obviously much more of the film to discuss. We just got into a lot of the specifics and the casting fun facts, but wanted to cut it here, and I hope you are all very excited for the next episode. I am as well. It's going to be very fun, but thank you all so much for listening. If you want to check out more of Paul, you can listen to his podcasts, The Black Tapes, The Big Loop, and his upcoming Marvel project called Marvels. And if you want to listen to Julia, she's on Multitude's podcast called Spirits. She's been on a bunch of episodes of Potterless, and she does a lot of audio fiction. You can check out all of her workings at juliaschifini.com. Thank you so much for listening, and until next time, as they say in the wizarding world of Harry Potter, before they let the dogs out, wizard on! If you want to be a part of an online community to meet other Potterless listeners and talk about Potterless related things or just Harry Potter in general, but you can't afford the Discord because it's Patreon and money is tight, and I understand everyone's in a different situation, if you want one that's free and out there and super fun, you should check out the Potterless Fancy private Facebook group. If you go to facebook.com/Potterless and look at linked groups, it's there, and there's so much fun discussion happening there. I hope you join. Potterless is created by Mick Schubert, it is hosted by Mick Schubert, it is edited by Mick Schubert, it is produced by Mick Schubert, as well as Vicky Garcia, Aaron Johnson, Jesse Horgan, Natalie Klobuchar, Klaus Serlopu, Frank Chiodo, Marchismo, Samantha Rose, Juan Sanfilio, Abid Ahmed, Rosemary Dodge, Maria Lisa C. Keen, Romina Rivadeneira, Camille Dock, Russell Dunk, Audra, Eleanor Curlin, Rosanne Batamana, Nikita Power, Taylor Armstead, Ali Madsen, Amelia Krause, Sean Montag, Sarah Nink, Ben Silver, Rachel Guthrie, Zachary Polito, Orchid Grower, Vivian the Owl, Takaria Ront, Haley Hastings, Moster, Angelina Withred, Alex Pacholta, Brian Williams, Caitlin Sullivan, Grace Riggles, Raul Pineda, Ingan Oddstarter, Maury Wynn, Alex Consulver, John Kotker, Noel Bay-Soleil, Tao, Emily Tyrell, Robin Fernandez, Will Barrington, Liz Bigelow, Mariah Noah, Brandon Pickens, Sarah Ensland, Claire Spencer, Rory Collier, Gloria Gillum, Sarah and Patrick Donovan, Alicat29, Veronica Bartova, Lotta Bartova, Noah, Tracy Toya, Colleen, Jennifer Marklew, Frida J. Svensson, Ivor Peterson, Naomi Guglielmo, Tyler Latshaw, Summer Athel, Heather Fleischman, Vera Cullitham, Carrie D. Baggeson, Andrea Kroc, Elisa Grieven, Lynn Walker, Cameron Watkins, Justin Montero, Christine Saunders, Jacob Parrish, Toothless Walnut, Maya Gray, Mark Body, Polly Burge, Surjanthan Megupton, Neda Atabani, Sarah Shecker, Nona VM, Zena Rosnowski, Harlan Haskins, Noelia, Remy Fontaine, Addie Bryan, Jenny Campione, Nikki Harris, Cara Hamilton, Courtney Hemwood, Kine, Amanda Alfred, Sabrina, Alicia McLaren, Kafir Shaltiel, Lindy Plackey, Martha Medueno, Benjamin Desmond, Skymart 6, Sarah Shetter, Marta Morrison, Stephanie Magnuson, Justine Wade, Aaron Richter, CJ Ochoco, Eileen Gazesh, Violet Sullivan, Kat Yowell, Lindsay Towning, Fielding Lee, Keegan Curran, Miranda Manning, Gail Ann, Mr. Folk, Heather McMillan, Adam Bryan, Christina Welton, Maya, Zachary Davis, Kieran, Heaven, Christy, Leela Lita Williams, Wire Warrior 4976, Flora Sake, Sierra Skjarsford, Georgia, Itzel Aime Ayala, Al Vega, Peter Wyckoff, Candy Kane, Skylar Lilly, Edel Ryan, Professor Threat, Kelsey Wisen, Ellie Huskov Choba, Alubin Maleo Akanwande, Lena Karen, Daniel Fulkerson, Lee Lee, Elizabeth Christofferson, Abby, Lee Cafaccio, Michael David Yordi, Nice Earmuffs Potter, Did Your Mom Make Them For You, Cara Hoyer, Tiffany Cottrell, Kelly Otilio, Nadia Vansgard, Andrea, Carrie Crumpler, Jamie Kingston, Camilo Garcia, Connie Bienkowski, Janet Noel Detilly, Mary Matee, Imo Sarah, Jennifer Wendt, Anastasia Blake, Jaden Alman, Nedry OS, Matt Barger, Riley Lane, Will Huser, Zephyr Lawrence, Artemis Peters, Brett Clausen, Samantha Lenz, Kayla M. Simino, Lauren Wainwright, Aurora Fruhoff, Emma Clark, Hermione Hermione Snape, Leor Nachum, Megan Dick, Out of Context 69, Liam McCormick, Milena Brandy, Marco Cepeda, Ella Robertson, Hannah Zeters, Courtney, Victoria McCormick, Marique Rieger, Ashton Gabrielson, Brittany Gutierrez, Phelan, Julie Walton, The Meadows Family, Jennifer from the Block, Anna Penalbar Alvarez, Fake Valentine, Brianna Jordan, Karu Teru, Steamed Nuggets, Can't I, Potter? And yes, I can. Web design by Kelly Beckman, and the music is by Bettina Campamanis. If you want to find us on social media, you can at facebook.com/Potterless, twitter.com/PotterlessPod, instagram.com/PotterlessPodcast, and reddit.com/r/Potterless. For merchandise, you can go to bit.ly/merchon. For any and all information about the show, you can go to potterlesspodcast.com. And for bonus content, you can head to patreon.com/Potterless. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to tell someone about the show, whether it's online via reviews or just telling a human, that helps so much. And until next time, as they say in the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, wizard on!